You've done well, so far. But the true test still lies before you.
I was wondering when you'd show up.
I am here to ensure that you do your job, little human. Not do it for you.
I will reach the Sunwell on my own, Dreadlord.
Be warned. It is a pool of mystical energy from which the elves draw their immortal powers. They will not give it up easily.
Do you think he suspects that you've been aiding me, Necromancer?
I'm sure he suspects quite a bit. It is his nature to assume the worst. Now steel yourself. The hour of my rebirth draws near.
And let's go. So no, I actually do not have a save. So the reason being that this game is a little bit difficult, so I'm not keeping saves between missions. And also, it has a mission selection, so I don't have to keep it. Let's get these upgrades going immediately. This will be upgraded, but I do need to get
Did you forget about us, you wretches? Vasha Nofalotala.
She is persistent. Reminds me of you, Death Knight.
Shut up, you damn ghost.
Just damage her.
Ah, at last. Tread lightly.
Get this.
Frostmourne hungers.
Lord Arthas, the elf woman will likely attempt to summon reinforcements.
Then watch for her runners. None of them must get through.
This. Oh, I actually have an extra cutter, so we're gonna use you here. I only need 3 cutters in order to keep the upkeep to the minimum. I will need a couple of other buildings though. I do need catapults. And I do need necromancers.
Lord Arthas, Sylvanas has sent a runner to Silvermoon. The elves are sure to send more forces at us.
So what this does is, if this runner gets to the base, it triggers the enemy AI.
The gargoyles we brought back from Northrend could be useful here. The beasts can spot their runners along the main road.
Now these gargoyles are everything you need to get the runners stopped. There's only 2 roads they can take.
Research complete.
Get their attack up.
Upgrade complete.
So if you let the runner warn them, then it triggers 2 of the bases here to start attacking you from the south. Which is something that I don't want to happen. Yeah, mission 4 was the one with the 3 keys. That's the mission before this one.
Around. Faithless coward. Summoning is at last. Now, Frostmourne hungers.
That's the one with multiple gates and multiple keys.
Summoning is complete.
Let's get this. I will need 2 of these guys.
Research complete.
Oh, everything is going well. I'm having a couple of days off, so I'm enjoying them. How about you? Everything good on your side? What am I... I have a feeling I'm forgetting to build something, but everything is built.
Thy bidding, master.
Yeah, I got everything. Gargoyles are better just because they're aerial.
The shadows
We'll
beckon.
need that as well. Now I am going to be going into low
Tread lightly.
upkeep simply because
This
I'm
is
going
more
to be
like it.
exploring. I'm gonna
Finally.
need more units. I think there is a another gold
Frostmourne
mine to
hungers.
capture somewhere around here.
The
Could be wrong
shadows
about
beckon.
that.
Research complete.
Well, this.
More gold is required.
Oh. No need
Speak,
to wait on all of those upgrades.
Research complete.
At last.
There's the catapult, meat wagon. Yeah. That's
Finally.
always the problem of being an adult, and when everybody works and they work at different times, and trying to get a session going of everything can be problematic. I feel you there. It's one of the reasons why I had to give up on certain hobbies in the past, because the people just couldn't make it.
What is it now? At last. This is more like it.
There.
At last. This is more like it.
That bridge goes over to the enemy
Finally.
base.
Research complete.
This is
Research
more
Store.
like it. At last. No one orders me.
I might as well go into low upkeep at the moment.
Speak, fool. Frostmourne hungers. Finally. At last.
That can be difficult.
Lord Arthas, Sylvanas has sent a runner to Silvermoon.
Frostmourne hungers. At last. This is more like it.
Our
You
forces
guys to go over here because he's gonna go through that
What
road.
is it?
research complete.
Frostmourne hungers.
For the Lich King.
Go get the runner off.
No one orders me around.
Research complete.
Get the barracks.
What is it? Speak, fool.
Your pain shall be legendary.
At last.
The restless dead await. This better be good. What does the shadow do?
What is it now? Tread lightly.
What's done is done.
No one orders me around.
Oh, that's dead.
Speak, fool. Finally. Frostmourne hungers.
I think I lost one of my.
For
yeah,
the
I did.
Lich King. This is more like it.
Oh. This destroyed.
Research complete.
What is it? I'll make sure you suffer.
Power. And that's it. This base is pretty much eliminated, so I can get these guys. There will be no more runners.
No one orders me around. Tread lightly.
Heal.
Frostmourne.
You. Well, when it comes to hobbies that I had to pretty much abandon for one reason or another, it was I had to give up trading card game matches. Specifically, what I was playing is I was playing Magic the Gathering and I was playing Warhammer Tabletop. I was also playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Of all of those Yu-Gi-Oh! I managed to keep up the longest, just because it was the most available and the most people played it, but everything else,
The restless dead
I only was able to keep up for a very short time, simply because of two reasons. One of them being cost. One of them being cost, and the other one being people not playing it. I come from a small town in Croatia, and those things, first of all, they're not very common for people. Well, they are more now, but they weren't when I was growing up. And secondly, they are very, very expensive, and in Croatia you don't get that much money to go around with hobbies, so it wasn't something I could just pursue. When I was in college, I had a group that we played Dungeons and Dragons together, but they all lived too far away from me to make it a regular thing.
Sylvanas has sent a runner to Silvermoon.
No one orders me around.
So yeah, the only hobby I was able to keep up is my drawing. And I'm actually thinking of doing a little stream of
The restless dead
me doing
awaits.
some of my art. And the other is gaming. Those are the only hobbies I was able to keep up.
No one orders me around.
And even those were not always easy. Again, mostly because of prices involved. Croatia doesn't.
Your pain shall
In Croatia, you don't really get that much disposable income to throw around. So things like games
This
and stuff.
is more like it.
Yeah.
I'll make sure.
Let's put it this way. The situation in Croatia is such that it's easier to get pirated games than original games. And it's not like, oh, pirated games, like that happens everywhere. No, you don't get it. In Croatia, pirated games are almost legal, as in you can get them in stores. A little bit less these days, but for the most of 2000s, they were being sold in the same manner that original games were.
I salute your bravery, Elf, but the chase is over.
Then I'll make my stand here, Butcher. Anara la Balore. Finish it. I deserve a clean death.
After all you've put me through, woman, the last thing I'll give you is the peace of death.
No, you wouldn't dare.
Tread lightly. Ah, at last. What is it now?
And there we go.
Finally.
Sylvanas has been dealt with.
I'll make sure you suffer.
And we got a gold mine here.
Why have I been summoned?
Sylvanas isn't a hero unit in this game, at least not as it is in future games, so she's just a Banshee. And while Banshees are... Banshees are pretty much harasser units, they're not really that useful.
This is more like it.
Fountain of Mana, let's get everybody here, and then we're gonna make our attack from that side. I'm gonna get... Oh, I'm out of ziggurats. Okay then. So how about you go there?
I wish only
Upgraded.
to serve.
Oh,
You called
My
me.
life for Netsu.
let's get this going.
Gladly obey. My fate is sealed.
What is it now? Frostborn
Everybody's dead, so let's move.
Ah, at last. Finally. Ah, at last. This is more like it. Ah, at last. This is more like it. Frostmourne hungers.
There was a time
This is more
that
like
I
it.
believed that pirating games was completely
Frostmourne hungers.
completely appropriate because you know, otherwise I wouldn't be able to
This
play
is more
anything,
like
and it was Croatia, so nobody
Finally.
really cared. Then when I started to earn money, I changed my mind about it,
Frostmourne hungers.
and I felt that developers should be supported and that their efforts should be rewarded with,
Frostmourne
with money.
hungers. Ah, at last.
Well,
This is more like it.
Since you've missed most of what I said, the brief summary is
At last.
I played Magic the Gathering,
Finally.
I played Warhammer, and I played
at
Yu-Gi-Oh!
last.
Of all three,
Frostmourne
Yu-Gi-Oh! Is
hungers.
what I managed to play the most, just because most people
Finally.
played it, and it was affordable. The rest I had to give up because either people weren't around, weren't playing it, or because
at
the
last.
costs were too much, especially for
Frostmourne
Warhammer.
hungers.
Warhammer tabletop is not something you can afford in Croatia.
Finally.
Nor, to
Thy
be
bidding,
honest, are there many
master.
places where you can buy it.
Speak, fool.
Now, there's gonna be towers,
This is more like it.
and I would like to deal with the towers with the meat wagons.
What is it now?
Stand ready.
Tread lightly.
Summoning is complete.
No one orders me around.
Oh, there's a wizard there.
Summoning. Ah, at last. What is it?
Tower out of the way.
Speak, fool.
Our forces are under attack.
Good. I didn't really want to keep those gargoyles.
Tread lightly. At last.
Probably shouldn't stick around here.
Finally. This is more like it. Finally.
Stand ready.
40k. I wasn't really much of a fan of Warhammer 40, Warhammer Fantasy. The 40k is what really appealed to me and still does. I own pretty much all of the Warhammer 40k video games, and I enjoy most of them. The Dawn of War 3 was kind of disappointing. It will make its way to the streams as well at some point. But these games are... they take a bit more investment. I was going to what I was saying about yeah, piracy in Croatia. So I changed my mind about piracy years back again, and I feel currently that piracy is just fine, and there is a good reason for it. First of all, piracy doesn't really drop sales. It actually increases sales. That's why none of the developers or publishers are really trying hard to stop piracy, because piracy actually increases sales. Because it gets the game in circulation more, and it just makes more people buy it in the end, because you get annoyed with all the things you can't do with a cracked version and you just buy original. The other thing is
What is it now?
that, well, it's not that it just doesn't harm sales, but also a lot of publishers and a lot of developers are just not trying anymore, and they are overpricing and overcharging games that are just not worth it. So yeah, I'm not losing any sleep over people who are pirating games. In fact, I'm all for it. And third reason, and the most important one, is that publishers are often dicks who will have a game that they will no longer support, but you won't be able to play it anymore, even though you've paid for it. Case in point is actually Warcraft 3. You can't really buy classic Warcraft 3 anymore. You just can't. If you want to have Warcraft 3, it's Reforged or nothing. And I've spoken before about the problems that Reforged has, and even if you feel that those problems are not that bad, there is a point to be made that you've paid for this game, so it would be one thing if you were getting Reforged for free as an upgrade, but they're locking you out of the game that you've already paid and asking you to purchase it again. So no, as long as that kind of business deal is allowed for the publishers and for the developers to do, then I'm personally aboard the piracy train. Just, yeah, I'm not gonna tell people not to do it, especially if the publisher and developer is being a dick. Well, yeah, Vic, that's pretty much the case for everybody. I haven't pirated games in over a decade. Pretty much since I started working, there was just no need anymore. Also because Steam became available, so even in Croatia, games became so available that I didn't have to pirate anymore. I could just get them, especially because I was employed. Even though it was still difficult, and I would have to save money for like three months to afford a $60 game, because $60 is a lot on a Croatian paycheck. But I still was able to do it, so there was no need to pirate anymore. And then when I moved out of Croatia into Ireland, there is absolutely no need for me to pirate. I'll just buy them. But I'm making a point for people who do that I am not judgmental about it, because while there are developers who should be supported, there are also developers who don't deserve to be supported. Everything that Blizzard has been doing for the last years is not, it's a crappy business, and it's not something I'm willing to stand behind. So yeah, I mean, do you think it's fair that you buy a game and then the developer decides, oh, we're not going to support this game anymore, so we're just going to lock everybody out of purchasing it? Warcraft 3 isn't the only game that's like that. Do you know that you can't get Alice McGee's Alice anymore? You can't.
You're paying something.
You also can't get the first Heretic? No. Yeah, I think the Heretic 2. You can't get Heretic 2.
Frostmourne hungers. This is more.
So imagine that. You pay for a game, you own the game, but the developer says, nah, we're just gonna do this with it now, so you can't have it anymore.
Finally.
Now that's a very crappy... am I too quiet? Okay.
Frostmourne hungers.
Then give me a moment and I'll make my volume higher. In any case, yeah, heavy combat, especially in this game, can be a bit louder. Let's get these turrets out of the way.
No one orders me around.
It's 3 units. I can just get these.
Speak, fool.
Okay, is that the only turret here? No, there is more here.
No one orders me around. This is more like it.
Unfortunately, I need to tab out one more time. Yeah, I need to tab out with games that don't allow... Essentially, some games, especially older ones, are invisible to OBS. So I need to alt tab a few times. Also, I have just been speaking softer than I usually do. But it should be fine now.
What is it now? No one orders me around.
Yeah, I was,
Finally.
one thing that I haven't spoken about a lot is that I used to work as a game reviewer for a Croatian tech magazine for a number of years. And ever since then I've been following the business side of game development, what's done on the back end, what's the corporate acquisitions, and so on. And
at last.
it is a lot of shady dealings. There's a lot of
No one orders me
a lot of
around.
exploitation, for lack of a better word.
For the Lich King.
Now, I will always argue that every company is entitled to
Frostmourne
earn money
hungers.
for the product that they make, but
At
I
last.
also am of firm belief that there should be transparency and there should
at
be
last.
fairness towards the customer. Oh, if that's the case, then let's do it this way. Oh, you. Let me know if this is better then.
Speak, fool.
At last. No one orders me around. Frostmourne hungers.
Something about what you said last time, that the game is a lot easier than Warcraft 2. A good deal of it has to do with how the AI works. You can see that I'm barely getting counterattacked at all. I'm pretty much walking through their base and nobody's really attacking me.
Tread lightly. This is more like it.
Well, fortunately, Vic, I've been living in countries where the healthcare is generally good, so that's one thing I don't have to complain about.
At last.
And I think that the United States should think about a few things when
What is it now?
a third world country, which I consider Croatia to be, has better healthcare than they do.
This is more like it. Frostmourne hungers. Intriguing. Fine. At last.
Well, there is an argument to be made, but I believe I've spoken about this on stream before. Croatia used to be a socialist country. Long time ago, but, well, not that long. When I was a child, I grew up in a socialist country. And yeah, it was bad, but it wasn't that bad.
This is more like it. Frostborn hungers.
Yeah, we did have those. And they were indeed called pioneers, so you would it's not that you would join, it would be something that it would be part of your school life, so you would be simply enrolled into that automatically when you were enrolled into school.
At last.
But there was not much political things going with those. It was just, you know, group exercises and games and sport events and things like that, you know, to bring the sense of community in you as a child. It wasn't all that evil as people like to like to show it, but
You will know endless torment.
you didn't really feel any socialism or effects of it until you actually grew up, because your work would be tied into it, your pension would be tied into it, your paycheck would be tied into it, and you weren't really allowed to question the government. That's the whole point, that it is an autocratic governmental body and you're not allowed to call it into question. But as long as you were, you know, willing to cooperate, quote unquote, you would be fine, especially in countries like Croatia. One thing that people don't realize is that socialism was pulled off differently different countries, so depending on how lucky or unlucky you were either having quite a decent life or a very bad life. For example, in Yugoslavia, your life would be pretty good, but in some other Baltic countries, or in from Ukraine onwards, your life would be terrible. But it was a very, very different story, because it wasn't just one ruler. It wasn't like that every country that had socialist government was ruled by Stalin. Everybody had a different governmental body, and the way that it behaved was different for everybody. In Croatia, or former Yugoslavia, the situation was more or less stable to such an extent that today people are missing it. There is a term in Croatia called Yugo-nostalgia, where people are actually missing the Yugoslavian socialism, because everybody's life was fine. You had paid vacation, you didn't have to worry about losing your job as long as you worked. So yeah,
Frostborn hungers.
It's a very drastic change depending on who you ask about how they lived during socialism, because for us in Yugoslavia it was fine. Yeah, and Yugoslavia was run by Tito, and Tito was he was an autocrat, just like most communist governments were run. So he was an autocrat, and he was for the most part a fair ruler. He was also I'm not gonna say he was a positive character, because he was still an autocrat, but
At last.
he treated the population fairly, so we didn't fear him. As long as you really didn't go against him, you could just live a normal life and not be affected by it.
Your pain shall be laid.
Well, that's one of the reasons why he was different, and why he is viewed so much more positively. Get out of there.
Frostborn hungers.
So the reason why he's viewed more favorably is because he didn't have an exact socialism. It was like socialism mixed with capitalism. So it was, you had a free market, we had an open cooperation with the West. So it wouldn't be it wouldn't be exactly socialism as you would imagine it.
Citizens of Silvermoon, I have given you ample opportunities to surrender, but you have stubbornly refused. Know that today, your entire race and your ancient heritage will end. Death itself has come to claim the high home of the elves. Now arise, Kel'Thuzad, and serve the Lich King once again.
I am reborn as promised. The Lich King has granted me eternal life.
I've upheld my end of the bargain, Lich. Are you ready to tell me about the Dreadlords now?
Certainly, but not here. They have eyes and ears everywhere. We'll talk where it's safe.
That's true. That did happen, Vic. That did happen. That's one of the proudest moments we had.